Hi everybody. Welcome to Phil and Dave's Excellent Adventures. Just Dave here. Today I'm talking about the movie Kung Fu Panda 4. This is going to have spoilers in it, so if you are concerned about spoilers, I would suggest you go and watch the movie first before you watch this review. So Kung Fu Panda 4 is the fourth movie about Jack Black's Kung Fu Panda Po. At this point, he's going to become the spiritual leader after already being the Dragon Master. And he has to appoint a successor. So yeah, as far as what I liked about the movie, overall Jack Black's great. I'm a big fan of Jack Black. He does a great job as Poe. I like Tenacious D. I like him in everything. He's always very funny, and he can make anything work. I think someone online said like you can put Jack Black in any movie and it would totally make sense, and I agree with that. I can think his shtick could have gotten old, but he somehow is still funny, at least to me. I like Awkwafina. I know some people complain about her or whatever, but I like Awkwafina. She's got a funny voice. She did a good job as Zhen. I like that character, so that was fun. Viola Davis is great. I really like the character of the Chameleon. It was a fun idea. I think to have a shape-shifting character as the villain, so that's really cool. Dustin Hoffman, of course, is also great as Master Shifu. I really like him. James Hong as Poe's dad, or his adopted dad at least. Bryan Cranston, of course, as his biological dad, who shows up in the third movie, I think it was. Ian McShane shows up in this one again. He's always good. Yeah, overall, the voice cast, great. I really enjoyed it. I like the idea of Huy Quan, he shows up. I always like him as well, so that's really fun. When I heard his voice, I was excited. And Ronny Chieng, too. So I'm like, hey. So it's good to get, Asian actors in there, too. I think they're both Chinese, maybe not. I don't know. Either way. Yeah, it is something I did consider, though, with this movie. Like, if they had, if it came out today, will we still have Jack Black in the lead? I don't know. But either way, I like Jack Black, so I'm glad he's there. The idea of the chameleon as villain, I think is a fun one. Of course, it's not how chameleons really work in real life, but yeah, it's a good idea. Shape shifting and stealing their kung fu abilities and stuff like that. It's a cool idea. I don't even know if I needed the shape shifting. Could have just been stealing the kung fu abilities. That would have been fun. But either way, I think the score was great. Hans Zimmer did the score with Steve Mazzaro. Hans Zimmer did all the score for all the other movies, and yeah, overall, I really like the score. It's fun. It's epic and it works for the movie and helps out the kung fu and the action. And I did really enjoy a lot of the kung fu scenes. I think were well directed and well done, and it looked good. And there was some really funny stuff in there too. Some really good humor. I laughed out loud a couple times for sure. Some dumb jokes that I'm a little ashamed at laughing at, like Poe busting through the wall, which I should have seen coming. But still, like stuff like that, good stuff. And there was a little bit of 2D animation in there. I think they've done it with all the other movies, or at least I remember it in some of the other ones. But yeah, this brief little 2D animated segment with like this kind of cherry tree with the blossoms falling and everything. It was really beautiful, and I really, really liked that. I also enjoyed that the facial expressions kind of matched the actors, which I think they're pretty good at. Disney was always known for doing that. But yeah, in this one, there's some things that Awkwafina's character does, like little facial kind of, way she moves her mouth. And I'm like, oh yeah, I think I've seen Awkwafina do that. And they kind of capture Jack Black's kind of crazy eyebrows with Poe and stuff. So I appreciated that. And I like the dynamic between Poe and Zen. I think it was fun. She's kind of jaded and she grew up on the streets and she doesn't want to trust anyone. And he's kind of more, gullible. I don't know, but he's not really because he's not like the old Poe. He's kind of like come around, but he's also confident in himself and his abilities, and he trusts people. And so I like to see that, and I like the overall kind of theme and lesson of the story that's taught. I think for a kids movie, that's what it's about, and it works. I saw this with my niece, and she said she really liked it. So she's 17, so she's a little older than probably the target demographic, but if kids like it, then that's what you're supposed to do. You did a good job as a kids movie. As far as what I disliked about it, I like Awkwafina. I have nothing against her. I think she's got a funny voice. I understand why they put her in, animated stuff. But somebody online was like, "Do they have to put her in everything?" And I'm like, "Well, she was in Ryan the Last Dragon. I remember that, and I feel like she was in something else. I don't know." But I looked it up. Yeah, she was in The Bad Guys and The Little Mermaid and Migration and this all since 2021. So that is a lot of Awkwafina. Granted, I didn't see Migration or The Little Mermaid, so I haven't been as overexposed to her as some. But I can see how if I saw all of those movies in a row, especially Migration and Little Mermaid, which just came out not too long ago, yeah, I'd be like, yeah, okay, maybe I've had enough of Awkwafina. I love Viola Davis. I think she's a great actress. I think she's good in everything. But there's this sort of scene where they're waiting for the moon to come, and she's like waiting for it. And I think it was the kind of scene that on paper is pretty funny, but it didn't quite work for me. And I don't know if it was her delivery or her timing. I know she's a great actress, but I don't know how much comedy she's done, and I don't know how much voice work she's done. I don't think she has done a lot, or maybe it's just a directing thing. But I feel like the timing on that was a little off. If they would actually let it sit for a little longer, it would have been funny. And instead, they kind of rushed it for me. I don't know, just that one particular scene stuck out to me. And there was a couple scenes where the humor just kind of didn't really work for me. Also, the lack of the Furious Five was just a bit of a disappointment. You do get Seth Rogen's screams in there, which they gave him credit for. So I don't know if they just used old screams or if he just called up on the phone and just did a couple screams real quick, or he came into the studio for like a couple hours just to scream, or I don't exactly know how that works. But yeah, we didn't get Angelina Jolie or Jackie Chan or Lucy Liu, or I forget who else with the other one. Either way, I like those guys, and so yeah, not seeing them in here, I understand it probably saved them some money, but I still missed them. And they did kind of tell a little joke about they had little cardboard cutouts, which maybe was a little joke, a little nudge to the studio for like, hey, here's what you're doing to us. You're making us do this. I don't know. And I feel like the animation maybe didn't quite look as good in this one. In particular, like the fox's tail, the fox character Zhen, it was just kind of a big puff, and like it didn't really have a lot of like movement or like articulation of the individual hairs that I guess I'm just used to seeing. And I think, the movie still looked fine, but I don't know. It wasn't exactly a step down from the last Kung Fu Panda, but it did feel like in some ways maybe they didn't quite as put as much like attention to detail in some of it. And I didn't like that the 2D scene was so short. I wish it would have been longer. Did I already say that? I don't remember. Yeah. Either way, I love the 2D stuff. They did a lot of it, I think, in the third one over like the credit sequence. And I believe they did it in some of the other ones too, with like some flashbacks and stories. And I really love seeing all that kind of stuff. Anytime you get to see different styles of animation within one thing is kind of cool to me. At least it's not, as long as it's not overdone. But this one, it was really short. It was like a minute, maybe two at most. And I was like, oh, that's it? That's all they're going to give us? Damn. I wish I would have got some more. Some of the humor didn't work for me. I mean, that's going to happen, of course, but like, yeah, a couple of the jokes fell pretty flat. I don't remember exactly what they were, but like kind of the skadoosh thing and the skablam or whatever. It was like, whatever. It's a kid's movie, I understand, but I didn't like that he calls himself the Kung Fu Panda. That was a little weird. That was a little like Superman 4, The Quest for Peace, kind of like just calling out exactly, I don't know, just a little breaking the fourth wall for me or something. I didn't quite like that. And I don't know how much I really liked Poe becoming the spiritual leader. Again, I know this is a kid's movie and I feel a little silly, like being like, well, no, but I like goofy, silly Poe. I like Jack Black being a goofball and running around. And I mean, I guess Shifu's still around. So I guess maybe if like Shifu would have died or something, or if, there would have been a reason for him to have to ascend, but I guess I don't know. And apparently they're planning on maybe doing a fifth and sixth movie and making this another trilogy. So again, the trilogy is about him being the spiritual leader. Like, I don't know if that's as interesting to me. Maybe in the second one they'll do something where he goes off and goes on another adventure and then has to come back. I don't know. I think it could be interesting, but I think I just like goofy, silly Jack Black and not so much like kind of serious, Zen Jack Black. Although it's good they gave him character development, and it is good they made the movie different than the previous one, so I appreciate that. But it does seem like overall they just didn't kind of care, didn't put as much effort into this movie. It also just may have been because the movie had a much smaller budget than the previous movies, but I'll talk about that more later. Other than that, the movie is directed by Mike Mitchell. He did Deuce Bigelow and Sky High, Shrek 4, Lego Movie 2, Trolls, a bunch of not great movies in there, although Sky High was pretty good. I think most people like that. And at the time, I didn't think Deuce Bigelow was bad, but just interesting filmography. He started off in live action, and then he did a lot of animation as well. Co-directed by a woman named Stephanie Stine. I think this is her first credit. It was written by Jonathan Aibel and Glenn Berger, who worked together a lot. They did all the previous Kung Fu Panda movies, Trolls, Monsters vs. Aliens, Chipmunk movies, which again, Mike Mitchell worked on a lot of those. And they worked in King of the Hill together as well. And then it was also written by Darren Lemke, who wrote Shazam, Turbo, and Shrek Forever After, which was also directed by Mike Mitchell. Yeah, I like Shazam. I like Turbo, so okay. Rotten Tomatoes on this one is kind of interesting to me because the critics are at 71%, and the audience is at 88%. And this is the first Panda movie where the audience actually likes it more than the critics, which I just thought was interesting. Going through all the previous ones, all the other Panda movies, the critics were like in the kind of low 80s, and the audience were like in the 70s. And I'm like, what, do people not like the first three movies as much as I like? Especially the second one was like 72 or something. And I'm like, did people not like this? It's weird. So it's just kind of surprising to me, I guess, that this is the one that people seem to like the most, according to Rotten Tomatoes, at least. Of course, the movie just came out, so there's time for that to change. But, budget on this one is $85 million. And it made about 80.5 million so far. So they'll probably find 58 million that was domestic, more than they expected. Movies generally have to double their budget to make money, but I'm sure this movie will be fine there. But it is a much lower budget than the previous movie. So the original Kung Fu Panda, the last Kung Fu Panda had 145 million. It made 521. The one before that had 150 million, made 666, and the first Kung Fu Panda had $130 million budget, and it made $631 million. So they were all very profitable. They all made money. Then you can see it started at 130, then 150, it went up, and then a little down to 145, and then this one 85. They cut it down like almost in half. Now, I guess maybe the last movie didn't make as much money as the first two, but I don't know. I assume a lot of that was cutting out the voice cast because they probably took a decent amount of money there. So yeah, I did think it was interesting that there's a lack of pop music in this movie. I guess I just noticed it because there's just one scene. They do use the Baby One More Time cover by Tenacious D at the end. And apparently there is a Justin Bieber song on the soundtrack or something. I don't know if I heard it, if it was in the movie or it's just for the soundtrack kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, none of the other movies really had a lot of pop songs. The first one had a cover of Kung Fu Fighting by CeeLo Green. I think the second one also had a cover by the Tramps, maybe. But yeah, but there was one scene where there's kind of a chase scene that stuck out to me where maybe just I didn't love the score in that scene where I'm like, oh, they could have used a pop song here. I would have been fine with it. I feel like it would have worked there. It didn't. Just in a way, though, it's refreshing not to get random pop songs thrown in the movie for no reason whatsoever. And I'm sure a good way for them to save some money. This is the first Kung Fu Panda sequel that wasn't directed by Jennifer Yu Nelson. And I mentioned that just because I believe with probably the third Kung Fu Panda movie, or the second one maybe, she was like the most successful female director, I think, or at one time she was something like that. So good for her. I'm surprised they didn't bring her back for this, but again, maybe that was just try to save money. I'm not sure. So yeah, they're talking about DreamWorks, at least talking about making a couple sequels. I think the creatives involved are like, let's do them one at a time. Let's figure it out. But I don't know. I guess if they make more, I'm sure I'll see them. But it would be nice if they could bring back the rest of the Furious Five, just because I like those characters. I don't know. So anyway, I think my score on this one is going to be a 7 out of 10. I think it's fine. It's not bad. It's a kids movie. It does what it's supposed to do, but it's not great. And I feel like I didn't quite like it as much as the previous Kung Fu Panda movies. But if you saw the movie, let me know what you thought of it down in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you have a great night. I will see you here again next week.